Hello and good evening to all my Packrat friends. This is Rick Rosen, K1 Delta Sierra from Florida, Echo Lima 96. I'm staying warm. I hope you are too. I know it's been a cold winter and month for you up there. And here we go, 2 days into the VHF contest. Will there be snow on the ground? Will you be doing uh, uh, cloud bounce, snow bounce on 10 gigs, or just taking out your 2 meter walkie talkie and making a few QSOs. At any rate, I'm going to talk about roving with my experience over 20 years up there in Packrat territory. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen. I would very much encourage you all to try some roving because rovers are a valuable addition to scoring in the contest for the club, plus the fact that you can have a lot of fun and different experiences if you rove. The interesting thing about the rules say that you can enter both as a fixed station and a rover if you have two sets of radios and antennas. You can't just take your home station, operate it for a while, then put it in the car and go out and operate that and have two be double entry. But you can if you have two different radios, and many of us have done that in the past for the club. Certainly, when you give a 1 point QSO to a station like N3NGE, who has 100 grid multipliers, your 1 point QSO adds 100 points to the N3NGE log. And the same thing for W1KV and K1TEO, W3SZ, K3TUF, all those QRO stations can really increase the club score with 1, 2, and 3 point QSOs from the rovers. You can rove with just a simple radio, even if it's a one bander, an FM in the mobile, a walkie talkie, and the concentration of activity is really from 2 meters and from there up to any other bands. And the heart of Packrat territory is Fox Nancy 20, Fox Mike 29, and some of the surrounding grids like Fox Nancy 10, Fox Nancy 21, Fox Mike 19, and so on. The bigger stations, of course, will find you even if you have low power and a little whip antenna. And if you want to get more exotic, the club has loaner microwave gear. On the other hand, it's just 2 days before the contest that you're listening to this, and it would be difficult really to get going with that if it hasn't already been set. You need to make a commitment that you're going to do it because you need to plan ahead and think what you're going to do. Be aware of the weather and road conditions when you're going to rove and where you're going to go. We once started out down in Delaware, and all of a sudden we saw a snowplow and salt truck pull next to us in a truck stop. And I said, what's up? He said, oh, there is a big storm coming. And so we headed home and made it by about 1 a.m. That was Leon and I in the Rover when there were about 1 or 2 inches of snow on the ground and things were getting squishy and slidey. So think also about the activity times because as Ben has shown us over the years, when the contest starts, Saturday night, Sunday morning, and Sunday evening are usually the busy times. And Sunday afternoon can be quiet on the air except if you're a Rover and everybody on the big stations is trying to pick up extra points. So that you may want to go out, and also if it warms up in the afternoon a bit, and the temperature and the road conditions are good, that may be a great time to rove. You may want to learn from other rovers where the best spots are, and also do a test drive to see what you will be dealing with when you get there to set up your radio and do some communication. It's a little late to try it for the Monday night nets, but you can always try it again and get ready for June. So I think if you have time Friday, maybe even you can set up some skids and give it a whirl. Now, it's important to understand what you need and how you're going to do this. So the power source is a very critical consideration, because you may want to use the accessory 12-volt socket. We used to call this the cigarette lighter socket of the vehicle for the power to your radios, an inverter maybe for the laptop. Maybe you have a newer car that has a built-in inverter and can allow you to plug in a radio or a laptop, but beware of the amperage or the power capability of those outlets. The 12-volt accessory socket may have a 10, 12, 15, or even a 20 amp fuse. And in order to generate 50 watts of RF power, you often need 100 watts of DC power. At 12 volts, you're looking at 8 amps, 10 amps, 12 amps to be able to generate 50 watts. And what you don't want to do is drag down your battery too quickly or blow the fuse. So stay away from high power. Again, it's the fixed stations that will find you. They've got the big towers and big antennas. Focusing on 2 meters, that's always your place to start. If you think you're going to use digital and have a computer or a laptop or a computer, laptop, a iPad with you, certainly 6 meters has become the digital hub, but it complicates the setup when you're going mobile. And you may be able to use the computer for logging, but to keep it really simple, if you're going to try it for the first time, paper logging. Have extra pencils and paper. They always tend to fall under the seat just when you're reaching for it to put down. And make sure you accurately copy the other station's call sign and grid, because when you go back home, you're going to transfer your paper log probably to a computer program like the WKM program, and then it would be post-contest logging mode. Or you could log live if you have that mobile capability using the KM Rover app on your computer. Simple antennas are best, even if you're out with a walkie-talkie and you're just trying it to make a few QSOs. I graduated, of course, with my big Rover with dishes and loopers and longer Yagis and so on. But the more aluminum you have up in the air, the more difficult it is and the more complicated the situation. So eventually I went to a bunch of homemade Yagis. These are the WA5 cheap Yagis, WA5 VJB, that is Victor Juliet Bravo, WA5 Victor Juliet Bravo, and you can look those up on the web. Simple to make, easy to feed, easy to tune, and so on. Turning them, I always use the Armstrong method until I really got the Rover van and set up with a Rover with a rotator. And then I had to have an inverter to run the rotator from 110 volts AC. On the other hand, there are now rotators that work just off 12 volts, and a lot of people can make various arrangements to use them if you spend time to set up a significant rover. Check your rules and determine the class of rover, because there are limited rovers, there are unlimited rovers, there are what I call classic rovers, there are 3-band rovers, there are FM. There's all different classes of rovers, so check the rules and make sure you know what you're up to. You want to make a checklist of all the things that you need to bring along with you. And before you go, you want to know that you've got some spare fuses for the rigs and for the car fuse block. On the other hand, if you blow a fuse, make sure that you undo the condition that caused the fuse to blow before you put in a spare fuse. Certainly, you want to color code your pluses and minuses. You're working with big amperage. If you use a storage battery, a LiPo battery, or hooking to your battery directly, that is a potential fire hazard if you get a short. And certainly you will want to fuse your power line to make sure that you don't run into trouble. When you have your radio or walkie-talkie, make sure that you have the appropriate accessories that go with it. If you're going to use CW, you're going to take a key with you. Make sure you have all the proper cables and connectors to join the antenna to the rig. If you are having a drive-over plate for a mast for your rover, you want to try that out before you go. Certainly, simple mag mount antennas are the easiest, and pass the coax either through an open window. Try not to crush it as it goes into the car, or sever it. Be gentle with the coax. Make sure you take extra logging paper or your computer. Make sure the computer is charged up. Take road maps if you need it, or certainly use your smartphone to use the map apps to get you where you want to go. Have your license with you, have your driver license and registration in case the police, the state troopers pull up, ask you what you're doing, license and registration. I have some funny stories about that, but one of the troopers that pulled up when I was in Fox Mike 29 over in Jersey and running the bands with K1TEO, the police pulled up and said, what are you doing, and so on. And I said, well, you want to come in and take a look in the van? And he sat through 3 band changes while I was chatting with Jeff, and Jeff chatted with the with the police, and so on. It was a very interesting situation. Take some tools with you just in case, and duct tape is always very valuable for fastening things down. If you plan to be out for any length of time, food and drink, maybe a bottle where you need to relieve yourself, and know where the McDonald's or Burger Kings are in case you need to pull in and use facilities. So be prepared depending where you're going to go. It also enables you to keep busy while you're waiting for another QSO. So check the vehicle out before you go. We've had problems. I know that if you were in the club when I first got my van, our transmission died on our first Rove after I bought this secondhand van. That was an expensive lesson to learn. Perhaps the transmission fluid was a little low, and we pushed the vehicle real hard getting up to Camelback. Uh, have a handout, because curious people will come by, and even if you're in a remote spot, people seem to find you. They go to remote spots too. So certainly, if you are stopped by officials, be friendly, be open, say hello, and make sure that you fully explain what you're doing and show them your license and so on. If you're going to have the rig in the car and it's not bolted in with a mobile installation, recognize that it will move when you are moving on the road. So use the duct tape to tape it down, or bungee it in place, or double face tape for a light rig or something like that. So don't have anything dangle under your driver's seat. Don't let anything get in the way of your brake and gas pedal foot. So recognize your own alertness and strength and so on. I once had a mast that was too big for me to set up by myself if it was windy. And sure enough, I went out on a windy day and the thing blew over. And when I came home, my wife said, "What are these little dents on the side of the car?" And I confessed about the antenna having fallen over because a gust of wind blew it, and the elements made little pock marks on the side of the vehicle. So make sure you have a little list for the setup and takedown, because what you don't want to do is set up the antenna and say, "Oh, I forgot to screw the coax to the connector." Or something about tightening the bolts if you're going to have a mast, and so on. Because you may want to start to turn the mast, but the antenna doesn't go anywhere if the bolts aren't tightened. So the other thing is using that checklist for the takedown. You don't want to leave your tools on the ground. You don't want to have a coax line dragging, and you don't want to have a mast sticking up in the air so that when you pull in to get gas, you hit the overhead in the gas station. When you get home, remember to submit your log in a timely fashion. So convert your your paper log right into a logging program. And whether you use N1MM or W3KM Rover, use the post-contest feature and send a copy to Dave, and he will help you submit it to ARRL if you don't know how to do that yourself. Mostly stay warm, stay safe, have fun, don't overdo it, and give it a try. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a great time roving or as a fixed station operator. I'm sorry that I can't be there with you for this January contest. My best of 73s, and hope I can work you perhaps from N4BRF here in Florida. Echo Lima 96 will be active on bands from 6 meters through 1296. 73s.